This channel is for immature audiences only. It is not for children, only for childish adults. We might play some video games that kids also like, but we say words like fuck and shit with alarming frequency and make crude, inappropriate, and morbid jokes all the damn time. Level 0 NPCs assumes no responsibility if your idiot spawn watches this and gets traumatized.
We're the Flintstone kids, a million strong and growing.
And growing.
We play with rocks and hurt ourselves quite often.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Level 0 NPCs Podcast.
As yet unnamed podcast.
Yes.
We may just...
Done by the Level 0 NPCs.
That might actually be the name of the podcast now.
Yeah, who knows?
The Level 0's NPCs.
We still haven't aired our first episode.
No.
It's been 2 weeks since we last recorded.
Nope, that's how we do it.
We haven't aired it, and boy, it's stinky.
I'm Luke.
We roll thusly.
Yeah. All right. So word of warning before we get into this, we're going to be talking about a lot about two movies that aired in the 70s that you've probably never seen.
If you have, good for you.
If you have, really good for you, because they're pretty obscure. But if you haven't, I would advise you stick with us anyway, because
Yeah.
I think we're going to have some insights not only into these movies, but into the 1970s themselves.
So for those that didn't hear the last podcast, maybe we can just talk about how we got on this topic to begin with.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we got here, but if anybody remembers...
We were talking about someone hijacking a blimp.
Blimp terrorism,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We were talking about if you could turn into a vehicle, and Luke wanted to turn into a drone,
Right.
and I said, then
Yes.
you'd be able to to rob blimps.
Well
And then we
remembered.
got into the whole, has anyone
Yes.
ever robbed a blimp? And then I looked it up, and this is what happened.
Well-known cases of blimp crime, yes.
Just to really show off our professionalism as podcasters, Luke was trying to introduce himself and all of us, I think, before we just launched.
Yeah, that was bad
into the
form on
subject
it.
at hand.
No, it was ill-conceived. Let's just go without telling anyone who we are.
You figure it out.
Mystery men.
We'll go with the honest impression of who we are. No one.
No one. We're the level 0 NPCs, okay? If we needed names, somebody would have given us names.
Yeah.
All right.
Other than our parents who did.
Well, whatever. They didn't know. They didn't know we were going to turn out to be nothing. They should have.
They didn't know that we were just, little green flower buds. We're just gonna one day blossom into nothing at all.
We sure as hell all foreshadowed it, though, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
No petals inside, just a sort of little green sphincter opening up to nothing.
Ooh.
Looking back, it should have been obvious, but, hey, that's fine. So when I looked up if anyone had ever robbed a blimp in real life, it brought me to to a page for Black Sunday, a 1977 John Frankenheimer film involving the Goodyear Blimp, which was going to be used as a tool to kill a bunch of people during Super Bowl Sunday. And we were like, we need to watch this movie.
Yep.
So it took us 2 weeks, but we did it. And
in some case, it took us 2 weeks to get all the way through the movie.
yeah. And in addition, Lewis found the, I guess you would say, the deep impact to Black Sunday's Armageddon. The movie 2 Minute Warning, which took place in, I guess, a football game, and it involved a shooter. No blimps, but still.
Well, there was a blimp, but it was sort of peripheral to the main story.
It was a peripheral blimp.
The blimp was an ally in 2 Minute Warning rather than an enemy.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was.
They could have actually been happening in the same universe, and you wouldn't know it, apart from the blimp crashing at the end.
That's true.
Honestly, you could probably splice the two movies together, and it wouldn't be that cognitively dissonant.
Oh, man.
Oh, that would be confusing and hilarious.
That would be... someone should do that.
Oh, my God. That would
You
be
get the actual plot of Black Sunday and the drama of 2 Minute Warning.
Holy shit! Because at the end of okay, we're just gonna spoil everything. At the end,
Yeah.
at the end of 2 Minute Warning.
Fair warning. 50 years later, spoiler warning for 2 Minute Warning and Black Sunday.
It's
40
40
some
some,
odd years.
yeah.
43.
I think if you combine both
Yeah.
movies, you might get one watchable movie.
So just for the listeners' benefit, should we attempt to roughly run through the plots of each of these films?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
No one should watch these.
Now, I watched Black Sunday a couple weeks ago, so I probably forgot, say, 60 to 70% of it, whereas I'm very fresh on 2 Minute Warning, so.
Okay, well, Black Sunday is a weird one, right, guys? Like, it kind of starts off. Where is it? It's in Beirut.
Beirut.
So
yeah,
Starts on in Beirut, yeah.
Black Sunday really, takes the easy route by just sort of kind of making a bingo card out of sensitive geopolitical politics, dealing with Palestinian terrorists and deranged Vietnam War veteran, which is just, those are in no way complicated subjects that might need to be handled with care. So this is our protagonist, I guess, is a deranged Vietnam War veteran / blimp pilot, and the heroine, I guess, is a Palestinian terrorist who is also his romantic interest.
No,
and together,
those guys are totally the villains.
I mean, like, yeah. Let's. Well, okay, like main points of view, but certainly the antagonists of the story.
well,
Yeah.
the story follows them more than anyone else.
That's true.
We're over their shoulders far more than anyone else. They're certainly the villains because their objective is to kill everybody at the Super Bowl.
But it's also they're more interesting. They're the more interesting characters, easily.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I say protagonist in the sense of being the main character, not
Yeah, I guess
necessarily
that's
in the
true.
sense of being the hero.
Yeah, that's true.
Although I honestly didn't find myself rooting for any of the other characters.
No,
I was rooting for nobody.
So the Palestinian woman and the deranged guy from Vietnam, they form an alliance because they both want to take out a bunch of Americans. The Palestinian woman, for obvious reasons, the deranged guy from Vietnam, is sort of as like a payback for him killing innocent people in Vietnam. Was I getting that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah,
He killed a bunch of innocent people, and he came back all fucked up, and his wife left him.
Yeah. And so fast forward to years later in Miami, Florida. It was in Miami, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Was it around this time that the Super Bowl was always held in Miami? Like, was that a thing? I'm not a football guy, so I don't really know.
I don't know. I don't know. Well, all I know is that we're explaining this very badly. Okay, so I think this.
I
is
hope
true.
we are.
Well, the main character.
Would you expect anything more?
Like the main hero protagonist is an Israeli counterterrorist Mossad agent played by Robert Shaw, and the guy doesn't make a facial expression through the whole fucking movie.
It doesn't actually, does he? God, he doesn't.
He doesn't. The whole thing.
He phoned the whole performance in.
He was just like, I'm just gonna be stoic the whole time, just stone faced, and he was all through it. Even when he was swinging on the blimp at the end, he was just nothing.
There's jumping ahead slightly. In his pursuit of the antagonistic protagonists, the I guess what you would call the main character, because all of the other good guys, people trying to stop the terrorist attack, are remarkably insubstantial non-entities.
Mm-hmm.
But in the course of his investigations, it's an ally of his, right? A countryman, a fellow agent of his, is killed.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right.
And this is his sort of closest human tie. And he goes on to have the only good line of the movie when he's interrogating somebody, which is he puts a gun in his mouth and says, "Blink for yes, die for no."
Yes!
Or die for no.
What a great line!
It is the only good, in my opinion, the only good part of Black Sunday, start to finish, the whole movie.
There were parts of it. Yeah, that's the only like genuinely good part.
I was like, that's a great line. That is legitimately, no notes, that's an excellent thing to say when interrogating someone.
There were parts of
There are memorable
Yeah,
parts of the movie,
sure.
but there is a distinct lack of great parts of the movie.
Yeah.
The explosions and their aftermaths, they don't last any more than like a second or two. Like it's
That's
just very
all I can. Those are my memories of the film. Was the helicopter explosion, which looked like someone fucking around with the negative.
Oh yeah.
The helicopter exploded like somebody filled a balloon with like hairspray and held a lighter to it.
Yes. Very true.
Well, the idea is that they're taking the Goodyear Blimp, and they have 250,000 steel flechettes down at the bottom, and there's going to be a bomb on the underside, and these steel flechettes are going to fly, these 250,000, into the crowd and just gruesomely kill so many people.
And this is almost a cool element of the movie. Is that sounds like a bit of a far-fetched plan, but they do demonstrate it on this guy in a barn.
Oh,
they take a
yeah,
scale
that's
model.
It's true. The barn scene I felt was pretty well done.
Yeah.
In all honesty,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all things considered, it really does kind of drive home the engineering of the bomb. And I mean, like, this is video game obsessed Luke talking, but like it reminded me kind of like the typhoon from Deus Ex: Human Revolution.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's not a bad idea, just propelling millions of ball bearings, or I guess in this case there were little darts, with one, shaped charge explosion.
And it also, that same scene also kind of brought home how stupid your average American is too.
Yeah.
Like the guy who was working there, he just was easily duped. He's just easily duped into being killed and
When
posing
does the
for it
camera go off?
because he thought it was a camera. Man.
There's an interesting sort of fluctuation in, I guess, what you might call competence, where the villains, who kind of feature more prominently than anyone else, are kind of getting around fairly easily. So what you might call the main character, the deranged Vietnam War veteran, whom we're not even really dignifying with a name, I don't recall what it was.
Michael Lander.
Michael Lander. He's a blimp pilot for the Super Bowl.
He lands it.
He presents a unique opportunity for this terrorist organization, Black September, in that he's already in. He will be above this crowd of people on Super Bowl Sunday. And he's this disturbed individual who came home to this sort of terrible court-martial to a failed marriage and kind of wants revenge on the world, on his country. So the plot kind of hinges around that. And because he's not really suspected of everything, the film description describes him as secretly deranged, which is an interesting take.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to hide it, was he?
No, he seemed openly deranged to me.
He wasn't hiding it particularly well if he was making an attempt.
But then
But
again,
to that point, though, like he was denied being allowed to drive the Goodyear Blimp because he's either failed some psych evaluation or something like that necessary, right?
Wasn't it because he didn't get the shots that they wanted on the first
he fucked up the
go-round?
shot at the
Yeah,
start
he
of the
fucked up
movie.
the shots, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, driving the blimp in a storm, basically, on one football game. He failed to get shots that they wanted, and he was therefore denied the chance to pilot the blimp during the Super Bowl, forcing him and his Palestinian terrorist paramour to murder the man who was going to fly the blimp.
Which I felt bad about. That guy was so nice.
That guy was nice, and also I didn't like how desperate their plan got, because they were just sort of scrambling and yelling at people there at the end.
That's right. Yeah, the camera
At the
crew and everything.
It's true.
They didn't really have a plan B.
No. It was kind of fun to watch their plan A go to hell, and they're just like yelling at people to do things, and people are doing it, and then when people are just questioning it, they just shoot them, and people don't even notice, just keep doing what they're doing.
So yeah, lots of silenced gun executions, just because they know they're never coming back. They like he's burning his life down behind him because he's going to be in the blimp when it explodes. So to the film's credit, at the end, our Israeli counter-terrorist agent leaps out of a helicopter dangling by a hook and manages to... He basically goes blimp fishing. He manages to latch onto the Goodyear Blimp, and they tow it out over the sea.
Yeah.
Where it has, I'm going to say, the most disappointing explosion in cinematic history.
It's certainly up there, yeah.
So I hated this movie from square one.
Yeah.
I started watching it at the end of a very long day, and I watched it in no fewer than 8 installments. And I'm not I consider myself an empathetic person. I really try to put myself in the shoes of people, and I don't really like undue scenes of carnage. but you really don't watch a shark movie and think, God, I hope none of these people get eaten by a shark.
Yeah.
And there's a real extent to which Titanic is an interesting movie because the fucking ship sinks at the end, and you get to watch that guy fall off the back and hit the propeller on the way down with a little boom.
Yeah.
And he just goes spinning into the dark ocean below. No one is hurt by the blimp explosion. It explodes harmlessly over the ocean in the exact same explosion that is used for the helicopter explosion earlier on. It just it has a tiny little flash that's just kind of green screened onto the blue sky. And then they show sort of disturbed water as all of the flechettes go harmlessly into the sea. And
but then doesn't the blimp crash into the stadium?
Yeah, so I wanted to say, like, they didn't exactly succeed with their plan A, but there were definitely fatalities. Like, nothing really specifically shown on screen, but they did manage to crash the Goodyear Blimp into at least part of the stadium's, like, seating area. There was definitely, like, lights, like, bowled over and dropped into the crowd. And a whole lot of people squished, I'm pretty sure, before they managed to fish the Goodyear Blimp back up and then drag it out over the ocean.
The bad guys were already dead at this point. Like, they were just dead. The pilot and the Palestinian woman.
They had been shot in the slowest aerial car chase in filmatic history.
The whole last, like, 40 minutes was just all that.
See, the tension for me was for all the wrong reasons, because I wasn't really worried about whether the sort of counter-terrorist hero guy was going to stop them, because I didn't really care about him or any of the stupid people that had failed to stop the blimp from being hijacked. What I was really hoping to see was 90,000 people get killed by steel flechettes.
Especially with the way people died in that movie and in 2 Minute Warning. Everybody's got so much blood everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Like,
one other aspect I was just going to say, which I guess is a more filmy one, is the camera work in Black Sunday was so shaky, and I guess it makes you appreciate how much better we've got at doing the big wide crane shots. I imagine they would have been at the time, and just having no sort of stabilizer on the camera. It was difficult to...
I mean, this was before gyroscope.
Yeah. But I guess they just wanted these big wide sweeping shots, but the technology of the time really didn't allow it to be that nicely executed. I was just thinking, God, I hope the camera doesn't fall off the bloody crane in this shot.
One interesting element, and it makes sense because it would be way more expensive to fake, but those were the actual Goodyear blimps. Every Goodyear blimp, many of the scenes were actually filmed at one of the Goodyear blimp landing places, and all of the blimps in that fleet were used in the film, the actual blimp. Right. So the interior and stuff like that were actually... That's what the actual Goodyear blimp looks like, interior and exterior.
It was good of them to let them do that.
Free advertising.
Yes. Oddly, they weren't allowed to use part of the logo on the advertising. So I believe the blimps are unedited in the movie, but in the advertisement they had to remove some of the logos because they weren't allowed to use part of the Goodyear logo.
It's true. The blimp in the logo for the movie says Super Bowl.
Does it?
Yes, it does. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now.
Look at that. Super
it
Bowl.
says, technically it says Bowl, but one can extrapolate what it says.
So my chief criticism of Black Sunday is I don't think you make a movie like that unless you have a plan for the fucking explosion at the end. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like,
you've got to have that payoff, eh?
Like, using Titanic as an example, they had a plan for when the boat sank, and it was a very expensive boat sinking scene.
Yeah. And this was just like the Robert Shaw rolling around beside a ring trying to catch a hook for half an hour.
and the example of Armageddon, which we've compared these two movies to, the Armageddon versus Deep Impact. The end of Armageddon, you don't get to see the Earth perish in flame, but you do see Bruce Willis perish spectacularly in space, setting off the nuke to save everybody. It's a pretty good ending. They had a plan, you know?
Yeah. It's not the explosion that you were potentially promised, but it was an explosion nonetheless.
like, I was all the way to the end of the movie, just on the edge of my seat, like, maybe they'll get half the crowd. Like, maybe...
all I'm gonna say is that fuse was way too long.
Maybe it'll explode over a house.
That was my main complaint with Black Sunday.
Way too long.
It's like, dude, if you're gonna blow that shit, like, just make it really short, or just have, like, you know, a plunger or some shit like that is just going to set off the bomb.
Yeah, why would you use a fuse?
I guess
it's so they could set it off at a delay, but
like, dude was gut shot. He knew he was gonna die. He went all the way to the fucking front or back of the carriage and set this like comically long dynamite fuse.
Can you even set off plastic explosives with fire? Don't they need to be detonated specially via like electricity or something like that?
And that's the thing, like, it must have led to some kind of other detonation device.
Because it's not a stick of dynamite, it's advanced plastic explosives.
Well,
I think you have to...
That was the backup fuse. He had another way to do it, but I think something happened when she got shot or something. I don't remember.
So they had to go to a low rent. Oh yeah, they shot up the console.
Yes.
He said, just to over-explain it to the audience, if anything happens to me or anything happens to this, use this lighter and light the backup
the fuse. That's the only way to get it to do. Yeah.
It's 80 meters long. It takes 26 minutes to go.
Time it so that you are 10 minutes away from the Super Bowl when you light it, too.
If we're inside the 10-minute window, I guess we're stuffed.
Now,
we've thought of everything.
It's true, though. I would have loved to see that thing go off.
I mean, hell, if they knew how long the fuse was, why not just light it anyway? You know, like on their way to the Super Bowl. It's like, you know, we're either going to press the button and make this thing go off, or it's just going to go off at roughly the right time.
So the chief mechanism of this explosion is they build this sort of boat-shaped structure, which is just lined with plastic explosives and steel flechettes, and it has electronics to detonate it and all that good stuff, which again, why is there a cartoony dynamite fuse to set off these delicate electronics? But I assumed they were going to replace part of the Goodyear blimp in secret with this thing. But what the man does is he goes up, having murdered the real blimp pilot, he sabotages the blimp mid-flight by overheating its engine so it'll smoke.
Yeah.
And does the first half of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yes. And he has his terrorist girlfriend drive the explodey boat segment up in a trailer while he's landing for repairs.
And then very quickly, before any of the 7 or 8 crew that are there can do anything, he hooks the boat up to the blimp.
and they help.
They help
Well,
him.
he shoots several people who might object.
Well, under the premise that it is quote-unquote camera equipment, right?
He shoots several people who might object and basically yells and screams authoritatively until some of the ground crew help him. And then when they're taking off, he shoots a bunch of the blimp crew and throws them out because they're too heavy.
I actually love that, because I think that would work. I think what he did would work.
It would. I think what might have worked better is arranging to have the blimp modified in advance.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm almost positive that would have worked. Like, it was so chaotic, and he seemed to know what he was doing. It just worked.
Yeah, it just felt like they could have planned it a lot better. Going up and doing the first half of the Super Bowl and then sabotaging one of your props, your propellers, so that it would smoke for a while, and then, like, you know, going like, maybe we should turn back and get this thing serviced during halftime so that they can go in and get their boat full of C4 attached to the bottom of the carriage. Like, it just felt like there could have been a better way to go about doing that.
I agree.
Like, I'm in that camp too, very much so. And also, like, maybe think a little bit about, like, the weight of all of that, because they definitely did not, like, well, either it was entirely planned that they would have to start just murdering everybody and throwing out all of the other equipment before they get airborne, thereby alerting authorities to the fact that the Goodyear blimp was either a bomb or at least had been hijacked.
Well, the primary sort of antagonist in the final climactic scene of the movie is the fact that blimps are not swift or maneuverable.
No, this movie taught me a very important lesson about why you do car chases on the ground
Yeah.
It's like the latter half of the film, or the last half hour or whatever, is a blimp moving at blimp speeds away from the blimp's fucking hangar area toward the Super Bowl stadium, while a helicopter moving at helicopter speeds slowly tries to catch up to them.
It's almost like a self-parody.
It is weird, yeah.
Both vehicles are barely struggling to make headway against the wind. And everyone has known that the jig is up for ages. Like,
the jig was up half an hour ago, yeah.
the dead pilot's been found in his room.
Yeah.
They've commandeered a police helicopter. Like, it's just not going to work anymore. But you just sort of painfully wait it out. And right up until the last minute when they're towing the blimp out over the lip of the stadium, like, maybe it'll go off now. Maybe it'll kill like 20 people. No.
But if you do want to see people die in a football stadium, then
Now
2
we're
Minute
talking.
Warning is your movie.
So
Yes, the other film that we wanted to talk about today, the deep impact to Black Sunday's Armageddon,
Yeah.
oddly,
is 2 Minute Warning.
2 minute impact.
Black Sunday was better received.
This one came out sort of, what was it, a few months before Black Sunday, and
Yeah, five months before,
Yeah.
on November 12th, 1976.
and it actually caused
2 Minute Warning came out.
2 Minute Warning came out then, and it actually caused Black Sunday to do worse. I think, well, they think it did because it or people were already used to the whole stadium shootout sort of setup.
One of the chief differences between the movies is that the Goodyear Blimp is an ally instead of an enemy in 2 Minute Warning, where it is the only good camera angle they can get of the shooter.
Yeah, exactly.
You could easily splice these two movies together, though. Like, at one point, the footage for the Goodyear Blimp just inexplicably goes out.
Yep.
And bam, you got yourself a movie.
Absolutely. It would be a really interesting movie because it's two unrelated security threats.
Yes.
So to very briefly synopsize the plot of 2 Minute Warning, there is an unnamed sniper with no known agenda that starts the film by shooting this guy on a bicycle,
Just for fun.
presumably as a practice shot.
It's very GTA. Very
Yeah, which is not even mentioned for another hour and a half in the film, and then spending the next half hour driving from the sniper's perspective toward the stadium.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of an anthology series of various other shitty people going to the Super Bowl.
Well, this is very much a post, like, Towering Inferno, or the, what was the one on the sea? The other one there. The
Poseidon
cruise ship.
Adventure?
The Poseidon Adventure. This is very much like in that vein, right? Like, you want to, they were really trying to go for the all the people, the ensemble of characters, because you don't know who's gonna die and who's gonna live and all that jazz. And,
They're all very hateable, though.
Oh yeah, that's the main difference between this film and those films.
Yeah, there is not a redeeming quality amongst the entire cast of that film.
The men in particular, one thing Matt and I both observed is that neither movie contained a single likable man.
No, like yeah. I mean, kinda. The replacement pilot in Black Sunday was kind of a nice guy.
And the sort of handsome dude who was flirting with that girl who was on a date was kind of the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Still crossing a line, but, overall not a bad guy.
He wasn't easy to like, but he was at least okay to her. And her date was not.
And that's where the bar is set.
Maybe the priest was okay, too.
Actually, yeah, the priest
Yeah,
was
the
all right.
priest was okay. Yeah.
Priest was all right.
In fairness, it's realistic because there are only like maybe 60 likable men on the planet. It's, fewer than 10 per billion.
Right now, today.
Yes, in real life.
In real life. Don't worry, guys, we're none of them. All right, so
No, certainly not. This sniper makes his way up to a position right below the scoreboard in the stadium and sort of sets up a rifle and then spends the rest of the movie like just drinking out of a juice box or something like that until the SWAT team eventually notices that he's there and hijinks ensue while they attempt to get a shot at this guy, eventually aggroing him. And this guy no-scopes a bunch of SWAT people. And then eventually... and is eventually taken down in spectacular fashion when Charlton Heston fucking makes it all the way to where he is hiding, and they duke it out. But you really find out very little about anybody in this film, except for like the immediate circumstances surrounding their travel to and from the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, so many people die in this too.
Least of all the sniper. Like, not a single thing is talked about, like, who this person is, what their agenda is.
No.
Like, it is literally just a psychopathic killer. It may as well be fucking, like, Michael Myers with a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
It's revealed partway through that the president is on his way to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And...
because, of course. I think the president was on the way, it was at the Super Bowl in
Black Sunday.
Sunday as well.
Yeah.
Each making the act of aggression, it has sort of a central objective. The sniper is probably there to kill the president. It's never explicitly said because they his dying words are something like "Don't hurt me" or something like that.
Yeah,
the sniper. It's the only line of dialogue he has. They get his like name from his wallet, and all they know is that he's a transient from somewhere.
Apparently, the TV networks in America at the time were so unhappy about the concept of a random killings and a sniper with no intent that they had to actually film additional scenes totaling 40 minutes in length, where there's the sniper serves as a decoy so that robbers could escape an art theft without detection.
Oh my god, really?
Wow. Wait, so there's this extra meta plot that we didn't see to the film?
Yeah, there's a TV version.
Wow.
Yeah, for the television version. Oh my god.
And the TV version, in fact, lost 45 minutes of the original version to put in this new bit about this art theft and him being a decoy. So that's
the sort of faceless shooter. The cinematography in it is weird. Like someone will address someone who's not on screen, and the camera will like pan weirdly to the person, or like go around someone who's in the way. So it's all staged and shot a little bizarrely. But
what's interesting though is that the movie was nominated for an Academy Award for video editing.
Wow. For best film editing. Wow.
I watched 2 Minute Warning first just to have a different perspective on it. And I liked a couple of things about it. You see the sniper do stuff, like he's going about his business. You see him disassemble his sniper rifle into his sniper rifle concealing coat. And you see him go around throughout the world as a man who clearly has a sniper rifle in his coat. But even though it wasn't necessarily popular among the movie-going public when it was released, I kind of liked that he was nobody. He was just a monster, like a shark in a shark movie. And the humanity was only really attributed to his victims, because the people that you meet, that montage, the anthology of different unlikable assholes going to the Super Bowl, all of those people are affected in some way. They're trampled in the escape. Most of them are shot. A couple people survive, but they're all directly impacted by this guy's actions. And the sniper himself is not really afforded any humanity or decency. They don't explain his actions. They don't do any sort of like psychological justification. They don't humanize him at all. He's a murderous bastard, and they put him the fuck down at the end of the movie.
What amazes me is the incompetence of the SWAT teams. They all had him lined up. They had him completely lined up, yet he manages to kill so many of them, get shot, and then still come back and massacre shitloads of people while seemingly the SWAT team, or the ones who are left, are just watching him do it. I don't understand.
The fucking police, man.
What I was talking about. Like, they had 3 separate sniper teams, pairs, a rifleman and a spotter, on each of 3 different light towers. And somehow, like, the antagonist sniper manages to no-scope each of the 3 snipers before any of them can take a shot.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're looking right at him.
It's like one would assume that they'd be looking at him. Yeah.
When they're looking right at him. Yeah.
They even say, "Oh, he's targeting us." Buff did.
He's targeting us. I'm gonna take the shit.
He's targeting us. I'll take the bullet.
One thing the movie I felt does very well was the scenes of panic. Because
Oh yeah.
if there's a shooter at the Super Bowl, you want to see full-on fire in a crowded theater panic. Mass shootings are a horrible thing in real life, and I don't enjoy scenes of senseless carnage, but it's a disaster movie. I'm tuning in to see some disaster. I want to see the Titanic go down. I want to see a meteor explode in space. I want to see some beachgoers get eaten by sharks, you know?
That's why you were so angry, because you watched this first.
I want to see a blimp kill at least someone.
Yes, exactly, right? And I think this was a very cathartic watch after Black Sunday. I do. I think it was.
Yeah, 2-minute warning did pandemonium well.
Yeah.
I think some extras for real got hurt.
I think so too.
Probably.
Not zero people were trampled.
There are some little chunks along the way that are just enjoyable. Like you get to see a young Beau Bridges strike a child.
By the way, that was one of my favorite parts. One of my favorite parts of the movie.
Boy, I hope this film's got some Beau Bridges hitting kids.
So Beau Bridges is like he plays a father. He's taking his
father of two.
He's taking his wife and his two boys to the football game, and he gets more and more stressed out as time goes on and distracted, and he's really mean to his wife the whole time, and she's like a fucking angel, like a fucking angel. That woman, I had a crush on her from beginning to end. I don't know how she put up with that fuck, but there's one point where they're going in to get hats. And he at one of the
they're going to get pennants.
Yeah, they're going to get pennants, and the dude is also selling hats outside in this stall.
And you know, as a regular, you know, stadium hawker, the dude is like, "Hey, you also want to buy hats?" And you know, he just takes hats and puts them on the kids' heads, and then the kids are obviously like, "Fuck yeah, hats!"
And he's like, "No, we can't. We're not putting any hats. They're too expensive." And
$5 each.
$5 each. And then the kid says, "My dad just lost his job, so we don't have any money." And then Beau Bridges hits the kid, but it's not a good hit. It's not a good hit.
Yeah.
It's like the worst. It was actually kind of great acting, because it was like, I'm gonna hit this kid because I'm so angry, but about halfway through he lost his nerve for it and just ended up
it's like a 73-degree backhanded slap.
But it's like on his shoulder. Like it's just he pushes the kid into his mom, and the kid starts crying.
He gets a little chin and a little bit of shoulder, and the kid just kind of like staggers into his mom's.
I wonder how many takes that took.
Yeah.
Well, we know probably one.
Beau Bridges kept doing it wrong. He just really wanted to keep hitting that kid.
But it was so weird.
No, guys,
man.
it's not right just yet. One more time, please.
Can I hit this kid again, please?
But it's okay, because at the end he gets down on one knee and says, "You okay?" and then picks him up and hugs him. That's a 70s dad.
Yeah. Beau is he has a pair of binoculars at the game, and he spots the sniper before anyone else. And as the stadium security, the police, the SWAT team, all the protagonists are finding out about this sniper, he goes to find a police officer to say, "Hey, there's a man with a rifle above the scoreboard." And he is, of course, detained by the police for questioning, and is still detained when panic breaks out, and his wife and children are trampled inside. And so he's sort of fighting his way upstream through the panic to try to get to his family, and he's eventually sort of reunited with them. The kids are surprisingly unharmed. His wife is sort of totaled. She
got shot in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Which was like
every single one of the protagonists of this story gets shot, except for the priest. I'm pretty sure.
And the woman
and
on the
Bridges,
date.
His wife gets it for him.
The woman on the date almost gets pushed off of the stairs.
Yes.
I could have sworn it was the lady on the date who got shot in the shoulder.
No.
Maybe I have those two confused.
That was the mom.
It was the wife.
That was the mom wife.
Yeah, I was pretty sure
the
it was
mom wife.
Mum wife.
The mom wife. Yeah.
One massive redeeming factor that Black Sunday had was John Williams. His music's always fantastic. I know it's not by today's standards film music, but for the time, really cool. I really like John Williams.
Yeah.
Well, they sure got a lot of mileage out of the car driving music. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Because once the sniper took his first pot shot at that bicyclist, and then like started disassembling his sniper rifle and go down to pay for his hotel room and get in his car and then drive up the fucking like highway on his way to Sepulveda Boulevard.
Yeah, he started out in the 405, so you see at least like 5 minutes worth of just like driving footage on like the freeways in LA.
Interspersed into other pieces of the story too. Like they could have done 1 or 2 shots, but like every third scene was another minute and a half of driving in first person with random like pieces of radio in the background and this unremarkable John Williams like sniper driving.
Oh no, John Williams was Black Sunday.
He was Black Sunday. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
A guy called Charles
There
Fox.
you go, then.
Charles Fox. I've not heard of him before. He did the music for
Chucky Fox. He's a composer.
Oh, Chucky Fox.
Chucky Fox. Yeah. He's still going.
Fascinating.
He wrote the theme song to The Love Boat. So,
Really?
go fuck yourself, I guess.
All right, I will.
And the Grammy winning hit song "Killing Me Softly" with his song. Yeah. True story.
Well, it's all the more reason the differences in the musical scores of the movies to splice them both together into a single movie called Two Black Minute Warning Sunday.
Who was your guys' favorite victim from 2 Minute Warning? Because there were no victims in Black Sunday. None.
In Black Sunday, the barn man, because
the audience was the victim.
You're right.
In Black Sunday.
Yeah, you're right. Also, yeah, I'm with Alex though. I think the barn man was my favorite. I love that guy.
Barn guy, yeah.
Like he wasn't likable, but he was kind of funny. Like he was an odd duck.
Mm-hmm.
And he died more than anyone else died. Like
he got so many nails through him.
Yeah, sure did.
It's true. He died all the way.
Yeah, it was the only interesting thing to happen in the movie.
And in his life.
I don't know. Dahlia reacting to Mike's putting on his uniform like someone was forcing her to watch Two Girls, One Cup was pretty memorable as well.
Yeah.
I hadn't slept in a couple days, and at that point in the movie, I thought maybe that I was having a nightmare because it was just sort of getting too surreal, and I couldn't latch on to anyone's motivations for anything anymore. It was just a series of uncomfortable scenes, like some terrible stress fever.
I mean, he was having a bit of a meltdown because he wasn't allowed to fly the blimp, and so he was freaking out a little bit. But, I don't think the reaction we got out of Dahlia was necessarily commensurate to the what was happening on screen at the time.
Yeah. She freaked out a little.
She was clawing at her face.
She also did not freak out when all of her friends died in the attack. She was cool as a cucumber when that happened.
No, she was just hanging out with her tits out, and when all of her friends died in fucking Beirut.
Right. Grab a towel, I'll escape, I'm fine. Explosions, no big deal.
Yeah, it's almost like the reactions were inverted. So at the start of the movie, she gets caught in the shower when our not especially likable hero, the Israeli counter-terrorist operative, arrives at this Black September cell, basically, and his job is to kill everyone there.
But he sees some tits and he held off.
Well, no, he was she's a woman and she's in the shower. She's, I'm probably not. That's not cool. I'm not gonna kill her. Although later on he was like, I should have.
Yeah, he comes to regret this because she's central to this ongoing plot, and she directly kills his sort of closest friend.
By the way, when she dresses up as the nurse to go kill. The scene is actually what inspired the scene from Kill Bill.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird though that they made the Israeli counter-terrorist David, aka the final solution, apparently. As some big bad dude, but you never really see any proof, even all the way to the end, except that he made his bucktooth goon Robert hold a knife to someone's throat at one point.
He's also the meanest of all of the Mossad agents.
Yeah.
So yeah, who was your favorite victim in 2 Minute Warning? Was it the guy with the gambling problem?
He had some personality.
I liked him because he seemed like a character from a play that you have to read in high school.
Yes.
He was very Death of a Salesman.
You know, this film, 2 Minute Warning, like when I was in high school, I did a lot of community theater, and I did this play called Bleacher Bums. Which is basically this minus the sniper. It reminded me quite a bit of that, but yeah, like he definitely felt like a community theater kind of like random character thrown in that didn't really belong in the story that was being told.
No, he was the only one to treat a woman with any sort of love or affection, either in that whole movie. The only one. Now, granted, it was his like young girlfriend who was, you know, I don't know what's going on with
Gold
them,
digger.
okay?
And you know another fun fact about Charlie Fox?
Chucky.
Chucky Fox. He did
Good old Chucky Fox.
did the soundtrack for Short Circuit too.
He sure fucking did, which is,
Oh,
by the
man,
way, one of the
nice.
best movies ever made. Well, we'll get back to that, though.
That's a bold
We'll get to
statement.
that.
We'll get to that. So, yeah. So he was. So the whole point with this guy is that he made a bunch of bets on and he was like really in debt to a pretty mean criminal guy.
Yeah, he took a
Mr.
loan
Green.
from a guy. In
Mr.
the mall.
Green.
Mr.
Yeah.
Green.
Played by Alan Miller.
Yeah. And Mr. Green had him held out of a 10th story window or something like that by his ankles to, reinforce the fact that he needed to repay his debts by the end of the day, basically.
Yeah.
So
this was a very important game. Like, if he won, he'd be able to pay off his debts and not die. If he lost, he was dead. Okay? So
He was the only one with anything really interesting going on. Everyone else was just sort of a victim of their own unfriendliness. like families falling apart because you're an asshole, and that's the worst problem anyone else has going on.
Yeah, there was several rotten domestic situations that were there, weren't there?
yes, there were the older couple who had been together for 5 years but not married, and he wouldn't tell anyone he was with her. Like, what an asshole.
Yeah.
And
Nor
like-
marry her.
Yeah, and then they agree to get married, and they're walking back in, and he just gets shot, and I'm like, girlfriend, you can do way better. Like, You're
It's
gonna
so
be
fucked
fine.
up because he won't talk about them being together, and he initially is disinclined to get married, and
Yes.
every time she disagrees with him about something, he's basically like, well, there's the door, if you don't like it, you could just leave, which is just so horrible. And I almost don't understand why the first time he did that, she didn't just go, cool, bye forever.
this
Yes.
guy with the toupee who keeps giving me whiskey, I'll hang out with him. Fuck you. Yeah.
Like, he was objectively worse than being alone.
Yeah, he was terrible. So when he
Easily.
gets shot, it was like, I don't feel bad for anything that happened there.
Sort of
That's fine.
it's
Yay.
true. It was hard to feel bad for a lot of the people that got
Or the-
shot. Not all of them. The mother, probably didn't deserve that
No,
shit.
she was a fucking angel.
The pickpocket sure as hell did.
She was an angel. The pickpocket, yeah,
yeah.
the old guy and his accomplice granddaughter. I don't know. It's very
Played by Beau Bridges' wife.
Oh, really? Julie
Yeah.
Bridges was the pickpocket's accomplice. Holy shit.
Well, there you go.
The pickpocket has no dialogue. He's just sort of robbing people throughout the course of the movie. And the authorities are sort of going through the bodies to identify people. People who were trampled, people who were shot.
Right.
It's real carnage. And there's these two, I think, cops
Yeah.
frisking the pickpocket for identification. And the guy pulls out a wallet and he's rifling through it. Then he looks again and pulls out another wallet and a third wallet. And he looks up at the other cop and he has a huge grin on his face.
Standing amongst the bodies of the trampled and shot people.
Real stand-up
like-
guy.
You can't take that, guys. That's evidence. Internal Affairs is going to be on you.
Nobody's gonna know.
I didn't even think of like, oh, what a windfall. We have all these wallets. I just thought they're laughing that this guy was a pickpocket before he got executed by a madman. like, that just means you know one interesting thing about this old man. It doesn't mean you should laugh at his death. I don't know.
Also, like, okay, the SWAT team sergeant was awesome. The Charlton Heston was awesome, even though they were both pretty incompetent. They were great characters. I enjoyed them. Anyway, yeah, fuck.
So one redeeming thing to both of them is that people really did panic and really, really got hurt. It, like, even in real life, extras definitely got hurt in the panic scene. Smooshed into doorways and dropped off.
They really earned their $100.
Like there was a few scenes during the panic where it's like you see a guy tumbling down an escalator. It's like, I don't care if you're a stuntman, that shit's gotta hurt.
That's gonna hurt. Yeah.
So to Heston's credit, not handing the reins over to the SWAT team so they could just execute the gunman, he was trying to prevent a panic, and he failed to prevent the panic, but he was right about the panic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He called it when it happened.
Yep.
He knew that shit was gonna happen. But yeah, like, probably could have dealt with that a little bit sooner and had a little bit less of a death toll, possibly.
Yeah.
So what's the main message of the movie?
I believe it was like, if you cross, like the Poseidon Adventure or the Towering Inferno with like Friday the 13th, there was really none. Like,
so I don't know if it was intentional or not, but considering that each and every one of the characters in the film was kind of bad, there was something particularly wrong with each of them that got shot, with the exception of, the wife, who was kind of karmic justice for the husband. I think, like, everybody was sort of like, maybe didn't deserve to die specifically, but like it was sort of one of those cosmic comeuppances kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's fair.
To get the true meaning of 2-minute warning, you need to combine all the puzzle pieces together, because the meaning of both movies can only be found in their combined form, 2 Black Minute Warning Sunday, which because all Black Sunday is front loaded with this sort of, like I said, this weird geopolitical bingo board of all the evils of modern history, basically.
Yeah,
and like. That's the simple premise that they put forward for this act of terrorism. And the rest of the movie is just kind of fumbling and goofy. And both the terrorist organization and the people hunting them seemed really sparse, and to consist of only like 2 or 3 desperately under-equipped people.
Well, I think if you combined the movies, it would seem like the sniper is there just in case the plan to explode everything fails. Because he's not given any reason to be there, so you kind of were like, okay, well, that guy's just there then in case, the nails don't go off and kill 90,000 people.
Yeah, seriously, like, TV networks just splice those 2 movies together. You don't need to film an extra 45 minutes of art theft.
It fixes everything. It fixes both
really
movies.
yeah.
Okay, so I wanna rank the 2 films by effectiveness and well thought out terror plot.
Okay,
all right. So my pick is probably 2-minute warning Sniper. Like, he probably could have done better by not just coming out with his sniper rifle and sort of announcing his presence.
Yeah.
As soon as he did.
Yeah.
Like, he made a couple of mistakes, but that's kind of forgivable. Whereas I'm pretty sure that, like, Dahlia and Mike had one plan and were not at all prepared for it not to go perfectly. And the only situation in which it was successful was where it went completely perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sniper in 2-minute warning had a radio that he was using to listen to the game, to just stay up to date, basically. And the idea, or at least what it seems to me, is he's waiting for the presidential motorcade to arrive. Mm-hmm. And he got up to his position via a sort of, it was a locked gate, and there were guard dogs, but he had pocket meat to get past them. But he climbed up through this little hole, this sort of vent, and they wouldn't have seen him if he'd stayed in the vent until the president got there.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, he also probably just could have not got the SWAT team called on him if he had just put his coat over top of his rifle and acted like he was just somebody who had snuck up onto that position to watch the game without a ticket. You know, just like he had his fucking thermos and sandwich while he was up there. He could have just come off as somebody that just shouldn't be up there, but instead he was like pacing around with a fucking M16 in plain view.
Yeah. Everybody was stupid and incompetent.
Yeah.
The sniper had the demeanor of a zoo tiger.
It's true.
Even when he was checking out of the hotel and you could only see his hands, he was like his hands were like making fists and like yeah. It was ooh.
I thought it was a pretty remarkable performance, for not having a face and being sort of in first person for the most of it.
Yeah.
It's true. When the only thing you have to act with is your hands, then remarkable performance for what he was given.
The acting across both movies actually was pretty good. Like there's nobody there
with some notable exceptions.
Like the guy who played Mike, which is veteran character actor Bruce Dern, rest in peace. He was fucking awesome as Michael Lander. He was fucking great. I loved that guy.
Very believable.
Robert Shaw didn't act at all. I thought the woman who played Dahlia was pretty great too.
Yeah, she could have dialed it down a little bit a few times, but she was all right.
And we were discussing earlier, when she's discovered in the shower at the start of the movie, she has this really subtle reaction. But later, when she sees the guy in the uniform, it's almost like those reactions are inverted, where she sees her ally, the deranged blimp pilot, in his old military uniform, and she reacts as if she's been surprised naked in the shower by a gunman.
But across the board in 2 Minute Warning, the acting was pretty great. Even Charlton Heston was like less cartoony than he normally is.
And the guy with his gambling debts did seem like he was in a different production.
Yes, that's
because
true.
His plot was way more complicated than anyone else's.
Well,
in the whole movie,
we never said his end. Yeah, he actually wins the game. Like at the 2 Minute Warning, it looks like he's gonna pull it out and he's gonna win, so he's gonna be able to pull off his debt. He immediately gets shot in the chest by the sniper.
He never gets a break.
Yeah, so yeah, that's something that we didn't necessarily touch on, but like after the SWAT team cottoned on to him and he noticed, and I don't even think that like they took a shot and missed that necessarily like tipping him off, which I think would have made more sense. But at some point he just like, once again he no scopes 3 SWAT snipers and then just starts firing randomly into the crowd. Yeah. Despite the fact that he canonically over the course of the film did look individually at each of these people through their scope, but maybe that's just sort of his natural gun positioning or something like that. But yeah, like he just freaks out and he's like, well, shit, it's like, it's time, and I don't think I'm getting out of this alive, so I may as well just take as many people as possible with me while I go for it, And so he does. He shoots individually each of the ensemble cast of the film, except for the police characters that aren't, tertiary to the plot.
Wow. Yeah.
He does shoot SWAT team guy in the arm.
Yeah, he does.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what provoked the sniper, but they did. The president was redirected.
Yeah.
The motorcade was turned away.
Yeah, once they noticed there was a sniper there, or a guy with a man with a rifle, as they were calling him. The president was just unceremoniously diverted away from the Super Bowl and was never in any danger. So
when the mayor was taken out, it escalated shortly after that. When the mayor they located the mayor in the crowd and had them taken away.
Him. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there you go, guys. That's how we do Black Sunday and 2 Minute Warning. Would you guys recommend people watch these?
No.
Not really, no.
No.
Of the two, I like 2 Minute Warning a little better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both movies dealt in such sensitive material, really. Acts of terrorism. In Black Sunday's case, like I said, this heady cocktail of geopolitical disasters.
Yeah.
It's just very strange as an undertaking.
Yeah.
And neither movie is that successful. In particular, 2 Minute Warning's almost a bit too real. Just deranged gunman taking out his, perverse anger on a crowd of 90,000 people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the two, I think 2 Minute Warning is a little better because it does kind of play like a monster movie or a disaster movie, which is kind of what it set out to do.
Totally.
Whereas Black Sunday it seemed pointlessly complicated to me and terribly anticlimactic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. That's it for this episode, right? I imagine, right?
You will never need to watch these two films. We've covered them inside and out.
Yeah. What do you think, Luke? You wouldn't.
Neither film can hurt you now. You know what happens,
Yeah.
dear listener. So,
It can't hurt you anymore.
Yeah. So, watch them if you can or not. It's fine. You don't need to.
Nah.
I don't know.
I will say that if you undertake going to watch these films, you really have to power through. Like, we described the whole Beirut sort of spy thriller, attacking a terrorist compound thing. That was the roughest part of the film. I could not get through more than 30 minutes at a time of the first hour and a half of the 2.5-hour runtime of Black Sunday.
Black Sunday was a rough start.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was a 2.5-hour long film, and the first half of it was just hard to get through because it's a lot of spoken exposition. They don't really tell you, or they just kind of explain the interesting parts of the plot and then just show you the uninteresting stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not until probably the hospital scenes where it actually starts to pick up a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody in the production team of 2 Minute Warning saw Kubrick's Space Odyssey and thought that was a good idea for pacing. Back in the 70s when people were still figuring pacing out. So it plods a lot, but at least it's telling a lot of stories. So if you can find one thread that interests you, at least you'll know it'll keep coming back around to it.
They are both
until that person eventually gets shot.
They're both very 70s movies, though. Very 70s movies.
Yeah.
Extremely.
So, yeah. So if you've watched a 70s movie, you kind of know what to expect.
If you're in that mood, that sort of I want to watch a really crappy 70s movie, then you might just enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Next week we'll get back to the 80s though. So join us when we talk about other shit. I have nothing in mind. I'm just
we'll figure it out before we record it, though. I think the plan to talk about something in specific did well for us this time.
I agree. Yeah. And for those of you who were like, why did I listen to these fucks talk about two movies I'm never going to watch? Well, that's a solid question. Good one.
Stay tuned, because it'll probably happen again.
We took that bullet for you. That's something you don't have to watch now. There are better things to watch. Watch a different thing instead.
I'm sure there's clips of this you can find on YouTube. So,
We spent about an hour talking about these two movies that are combined. It's about 4 hours, so
yeah,
you're
that was
welcome.
our life. Yeah, that was our life.
You only had to listen to an hour of us. We
and all because we talked about turning into vehicles.
Whose idea was that?
I don't know. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Adios.